Hello and welcome to the Tech Show. Coming up on the show this week, we've got some new shoes from Shimano.
Very cool. Plus, got some new hardtails from Merida.
And we debate what's the most iconic pro bike of all history ahead of the World Championships this weekend, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, Neil, it's the World Championships this weekend in Fort William in our own country. And yeah, it's got me all excited about the sort of tech we might see. And of course, the paint jobs. There's always some World Cup paint jobs, isn't there?
Hopefully we'll see some of them. We've got everything. We've got cross-country and downhill, but there's always some big world champs. We've got road and track and all sorts going on this weekend, so loads to talk about. But yeah, I'm a downhill nerd, and I do get excited about downhill Worlds time.
Yeah, and I guess it's bringing back a lot of memories because not only is it World Championships, it's at Fort Bill, and we started talking about like iconic wins and iconic races, and then their iconic bikes. So like, Doddy was at Eurobike, saw Petey's orange, or his yellow orange,
yeah, the yellow
on the
and black
wall.
with the black stripes. I
And that's
really cool.
obviously got to be iconic, hasn't it?
Yeah, 2005 that was, where he won at Fort William. It's got the yellow Mavic rims. They were like kind of iconic, Mavic D-Max.
So cool.
Yeah, black yellow boxes, MRP chain, Fifth Element shock. I used to run one, and they were really good back in the day.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. For me, I think when I think PT, and this might be my era talking here, but I always think white Santa Cruz with like a Union Jack flag and the old school Santa Cruz logo on the side. That's, for me, is the iconic PT bike, but maybe.
Now that was back in the
26-inch
wheel days where they just look, those bikes on Minar and Greg just look so small.
I think it's just the shape that does it for me. It was very iconic.
Yeah, one for me, Nicolas Villiers, the GT LTS downhill. It was like ahead of its time.
Yes.
It wasn't crazy, but the suspension on those things just worked really well. I had that kink in the seat tube, one of the early boxes up front as well, and a head angle of 64.5 degrees, which sounds steep nowadays for a downhill bike, but that was like way ahead of the game.
That's a modern cross-country bike, 100 mil full sus, front and rear, with a 65-degree head angle. Yeah, I wonder if we could get that down a downhill track now.
I'd love to try it. I know I've kind of pestered Steve Jones because he knows Nico quite well, and he does have that bike in his garage, so I'd love to ride it.
Yeah, interesting. So obviously from the 90s as well, I'm not even in the 90s era, but this is iconic to me. I never forget Sean Palmer's like USA flag Intense M1. Like that Intense M1, the shape of it is iconic, and then that, USA flag just floating in the wind almost on that frame is just like,
seared into my memory.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Magazines, I've still got them in Mum and Dad's house. Stacks of magazines, and there's a picture of him riding that in the Stars and Stripes kit. I had the swag sticker on the chainstay. Just remember everything about it. It was
nice.
Proper cool.
And then I guess we had a lot of people riding that Intense M1 that wasn't necessarily badged up as an Intense.
Yeah.
We've got Menard, G. Atherton winning his first World Cup on an Intense M1.
Did.
Labelled Muddy Fox. I guess that's pretty iconic, maybe.
Yeah, that was, again, sort of the bike to have at the time. If you didn't have that, I was there, 2004.
Yes.
Was it 2004, I think?
I think, potentially.
Schladming. I got ninth, but that was that you either had the M1 or you had a sort of off-the-shelf copy, which I had, which was the Azonic, which is nowhere near as cool, but same suspension design and kind of different looking frame, but they weren't as reliable, should we say, as the Intenses.
Do you think the Intense M1 made those riders, or the other way around? Is that M1 like super iconic because of all those riders that were riding it?
That era of downhill, the good riders went for that bike.
Really?
They had to go for it because that was the best bike, yeah.
Okay, all right. So recently we saw Rich again spotted a Giant Glory out on the racetrack who had this sort of red and yellow paint job with a sort of bluey purple back end. I mean, that must speak to you straight away because I didn't recognise. I thought it was a cool paint job, but I didn't recognise it.
The ATX, the bike that Warner used to ride, there's quite a few. That Giant team was big back then. Miles Rockwell.
Yes.
Oh, I forget, but they had loads of big riders, and it was, again, really, really good bike. Suspension design-wise, just sort of one of those. If you didn't have an Intense, you wanted the ATX.
I see. Yeah, I guess we speak a lot about downhill bikes. What's wrong with cross country? Do you not think there's any iconic bikes in cross country? Maybe the retro side is probably more of iconic bike territory.
Yeah, I guess. Like I said, I was way more into downhill. I'm much more into cross country now, and I think we're in an iconic period now. Like Nino has had some cool bikes. And,
yeah.
You know, any bike that he's ridden has been obviously pretty successful. And he went to 650B quite early, although he didn't go to 29 until a bit later on. But now I look at those bikes they're riding now and they look really good. Whereas they were a bit quirky in the past, especially with like bar ends and super steep and, you know, little fork on the front. Now they look like really usable, really cool bikes.
Maybe that's why the retro XC bikes are a bit more iconic, like the Tomac drop bars, because that was a bit quirky, bringing drop bars into XC. Ugly, if you ask me, but everyone seems to love it.
Can't do it
or
now.
like the
Banned.
sort of the old Cannondales and the Y-shaped frames. Maybe that's just because they were so out there. But I wonder if, you know, Nino's 120mm full sus XE frame will be an icon in the future because it was like way ahead of its game.
Time will tell.
Yeah, I guess, guys, you better let us know. What do you think? Do you think that what we've talked about today, these are iconic bikes? Have we missed any that you need to let us know down in the comments below? And let us know, do you think these iconic bikes made the riders or the other way around? Did the riders make these bikes iconic? Okay, so we've got some new Shimano shoes. We've got the GFs, which are flat shoes, a whole range of new flat shoes, and the GEs, which are more of the SPD clipless style shoes. Full range, and all of them will be offering this new Torbal 2.0, which basically means this sort of torsional flex system in the soles, which allow the heels to kind of rotate a little, well, not rotate, but flex a little for comfort and steering. But the full range has got a few different models I'll go through. So check out the GE 900, which sits right at the top of the clipless range. It's got that BOA system and a Velcro strap. It's got the neoprene ankle cuff to stop grit and whatnot getting into your shoes. And then it's got this synthetic leather upper with a cushion and sort of quick drying material on the top there. We're getting those in black and olive, and we're looking at $225 US for that, or 220 euros. Moving down the range, you've got the GE 700, which forgoes the cuff and the the BOA system, and that takes us down to $180 or 180 euros. Or you can move down to the GE 500, which is very similar to the 700, but you get it in men's and women's fit, a whole heap more colors, and then it has a sort of less cushioned synthetic upper, which makes the shoe slightly more affordable at $140 and 120 euros. But you look like you're going to be a big fan of the flats, don't you?
I'm super excited about that. Yeah, the GF 800s, the GTX. So this is what I think loads of people are asking for ages, with its high top, BOA, and it's Gore-Tex. Like in the UK, that is like, it feels like some of that technology has been sort of taken by the clipless shoes and not the flat pedal, so I can't wait to get myself some of these. $220 US or 219 euros, but there is a GF 600 version as well, trail ready, lace up flat shoes, quick drying, cushioned synthetic leather upper, again that Torbal 2 midsole, slow rebound damping compound to the sole. I
know. I think it's crazy that they've actually thought about that. That obviously rubber hardens up under like cold temperatures, so they've kept it nice and supple even in the winter. So that's pretty cool.
Plus you've got the GT 400, more casual again, where they are $120 US or 114.95 euros.
Amazing, but slightly more exciting,
I think so.
For you, because I'm looking beyond the camera at something that's been built up for you.
The shiny red RockShox Boxer Ultimate. So these were announced just a little while ago. So you got the Boxer Ultimate, which is a Charger 3 model, RC2 with buttercups, and a Boxer, which is the Charger 3 RC. The one you can see right here is the electric red version, available in 27.5 or 29. Big change here, they've gone up to 38mm stanchions, so from 35 up to 38, but they've kind of worked around not going too stiff as well. That was the feedback they got from the pro riders. Machined crowns look super cool as well. These are available in 180, 190 or 200mm travel, so quite interesting to see, you know, the kind of scale of bike you could put this on as well. Maybe down the sort of super enduro, even like an e-bike as well, if you go for 180.
Yeah.
Super neat bolt-on fender. It's got the Debonair Plus spring. There's no coil version available, but these are more coil-like in feel, so impossibly responsive and supple, they're saying. And you've got obviously the infinite sort of tune with volume spacers and pressure.
Cool. I'm surprised we don't see more dual crowns on e-bikes, actually, like enduro e-bikes. Like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, especially I think with like the new Canyon Torque, that's definitely down that sort of burlier route. I think that'd be quite interesting to try that actually.
For sure. And Merida have released some new hardtails. Well, effectively, they've had the Big 9 for a while, which spans cross-country or down-country, and also all the way up to their World Cup riders. And now they've added a couple more in the Big 9 TR, they're calling it. So it's more of a trail-oriented bike, and they're adding 120 mil of travel to that. So they're also coming spec'd with droppers now, more aggressive tyres, better mud clearance for wider tyres as well. And where the standard Big 9 has a 75.3 degree seat view angle, it's going in for a 74.2 for the trail. And then the head angle, normally 68 degrees, is now going to be 67 degrees for that trail edition, and the reach is much, much longer. For a medium, you would see 433 for a normal classic Big 9, and you're looking at 452 for a medium for the trail. And these will be available in 4 different models, 2 of which will be available in carbon and 2 of which will be available in aluminium. They're looking quite nice, actually.
Very cool. Annie, you spotted this is an Evoc collab on Instagram. Evoc known for their bike bags, packs, all stuff cool, but this is looking a bit more casual.
Yeah, very much casual. So there's a shop called Bicycle Nightmares in Whistler, very trendy, and they've collabed with them and released these backpacks effectively and handbags. But apparently it's a bit of a hint at what they'll be dropping later in the year, sort of around about October. So if you like the look of that, do keep an eye on Evoc, because they'll probably be doing something a bit more to the masses later this year.
Got some new Newt proofs, although they haven't changed much. They basically just sort of changed the specs and the colours, because why mess with a good thing? So frames remain the same. Spec and paint job refresh is actually this sort of petrol blue Giga. It looks amazing. I've just got the black one. It's called Cosmic Black. It looks normal black until we get outside. It looks amazing.
You and black? Really? Honestly?
Yeah, basically all black is my style. So it includes models with the new Axis X01 and the GX Eagle drivetrain. Carbon Mega with Fox Performance suspension, SRAM Eagle GX Access drivetrain is £4,900, $5,900 US, or 6,100 euros.
That is not crazy high considering you're getting an all-new electric drivetrain on there. It's crazy. So also spotted recently has been on Matt Walker's pivot at Crankworx, and we don't have any photos of this because we weren't there, unfortunately. But we did spot him riding a coil and what looks to be a kind of an electronic gubbins on that coil.
Yeah.
Which is quite interesting.
I'm guessing this is some sort of Fox Live valve, but you don't see any wires, which is quite interesting, unless they're sort of tucked away nicely. But super neat. I've never seen a sort of that style lockout on a coil shot before.
No, exactly. We've obviously seen a little bit of the air version coming through earlier in the year, so it's interesting that we might in the future see an air and a coil version of Live Valve, so that's exciting. And I guess that's a good segue to say that we'll be looking at some downhill tech. Whether it will come through into the downhill world or not, I don't know, but we certainly need to look out for the tech show on Saturday, which will be looking at all of the downhill tech from the World Championships, so do watch that. Okay, Neil, this is the moment you've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Love the quiz, right?
Well, I've seen the question. I'm not sure I know all the answers.
Do you not?
I don't know.
Okay, well, maybe we'll have a little guess afterwards. So we've got question number 1. When did Shimano release their first clipless mountain bike shoe? What are you going to guess?
Wow.
You going to guess?
90s, but early. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. It's a good guess. A very good guess. What does SPD stand for? You should know that.
Something. Pedaling dynamics. I don't know.
And who invented the clipless system? So stay tuned if you absolutely need to know the answers to these questions.
Gary Fisher, I presume. He invented everything in those days. Into the comments from the upgrades that aren't worth it. So people have chimed in. Andrew Ince says XTR cables. Yeah, I forgot about this. So Shimano isn't the only guilty party here.
Yeah.
Well, they sell sort of spec'd cables.
Yeah.
Marketed as an upgrade because apparently these cables are so much smoother and better. Maybe they are a bit better, but for 30 quid, someone else can find out and stick them with Clark's for under £5.
I'll tell you, my first Pro XE bike had full SRAM XX group set, and it had the Gucci cables in there that were coated in something that suddenly got really grabby after a while.
They get a bit frayy if I
And I ripped my entire front derailleur out of my frame because it had and it was mid-race and I just pushed it too far. And so I'm with you on that one.
Front derailleur? What's that?
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll tell you about it later. Tim Sadler said, braided cables, still wondering if they did anything.
On your hoses?
Yeah, braided cables.
I think it was for sort of
heat management, was it not?
Was it? I thought it was more reliability. They were just
I thought they just looked good.
I don't know.
And he said fancy finned pads. No, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that. I love that. He says no one goes fast enough to justify it. Look, I know how to drag brake down an alpine mountain, so I justify it for sure. And even Stuart Fordham says here, I've heard on good authority that Hope themselves say braided hoses are useless. Finned pads, however, I disagree with. I'm a heavy guy, and he warrants them apparently.
You've got to feel like, air-cooled motors, they have those fins, it's got to work, otherwise why would they do it? More surface area. I don't know how much airflow you get on there, which I guess is maybe Tim's point.
I noticed the difference out on holiday, for sure.
Magoo71 is getting controversial. He's saying new carbon wheels.
Useless, you saying, Magoo.
Upgrades aren't, I mean, they're expensive, so you've got how much do you value it as far as worth it, I suppose.
Depends what you're doing.
Whereas BNB4203 says, a quality wheel setters improve the ride of a new bike to me. I mean, they do. Wheels and tyres do make a big difference, but you've got to choose characteristics. Often with carbon wheels, they're light but stiff, and maybe you actually want a more pliable sort of a rim that doesn't sort of shake you to death. So
I feel like spend the money on the suspension, you'd notice that more. I reckon.
Yeah.
I love upgrading suspension. Scots and Dine, I think that is. Yeah. The upgrade that carbon cranks, much stiffer. Yeah, oh yeah, okay, so carbon cranks, are they really worth it? Do you notice?
I argue that no one. I mean, maybe I don't put out enough watts.
You don't know.
Watts,
I definitely don't.
I don't know. Carbon seat rails comes from Steve in Oz.
Yeah, that's a good shout, actually.
Nice. I like titanium seat rails because they look nice, in my opinion. But is it an upgrade?
I don't know. I'm going to say yes. Lighter, stronger. Yeah, I'm going to say that's an upgrade. Okay, soon as we were talking about old iconic bikes, I thought I'd go back into a rewind. And this may not be a Pro's iconic bike, but that kind of skinny tubed British Racing Green Kona is an iconic bike to me. Like the Kona Explosive, I think was an iconic bike.
My first ever bike, Kona Lab Dome. Mine was older than this, quite a bit older, but it looks exactly the same, different paint job, but iconic to me for sure. This is Garrett's. I don't know when, this is probably...
He said, it says 90s Lava Dome, but it has got that kind of explosive vibes, and I'm loving that pizza bag. Honestly, I won't lie, that's the reason I chose this photo.
Garrett says he found his bike in a city dump.
Yeah, exactly, and he's put it together. It looks amazing, doesn't he?
I still like that, it's cool.
And our next one here is from a Giant Trance 2005 from Tim, who took this 2005 Giant Trance to Ardrock last year. So he's still riding it.
I think that's good.
And check out that paint jobs that he's had a little custom paint job to it.
I think that's really cool, actually.
With bullet holes. I don't know what you're trying to say about yourself or your riding, Tim, but it looks good.
Yeah.
And then my final one, soon as we had a bit of a Shimano theme here, I've got some retro Shimano shoes from Karen in Scotland, who says she bought these in the early 90s for 15 quid, and she's still riding them. They're still going strong. I mean, that's pretty cool, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And she's gone through 8 bikes in that time, apparently, but the shoes are still going.
They've always done, I remember them doing this cool kind of BMX, but it was like red and white. I don't know what it's called, but it was like really good looking shoe that Will Longdon rode down. I remember looking really nice. I always wanted one, but I always rode flat pedals.
Were you
really.
a Shimano DX man?
No, I mean, like I
the
said, I
big
was flat
Norses
pedals
all the way?
until about 2012. So yeah.
Well, this is a good segue into the quiz answers,
Okay.
isn't it, really? Let's do it, the moment you've been waiting for. When did Shimano release the first clipless mountain shoe? It was in 1990, so you were there for the early 90s,
Close.
but very early.
I could have guessed probably on the SPD. It was Shimano pedaling dynamics.
Yeah, they did invent it. Although the inventors of clipless system was actually invented by Look, who stole it off of the sort of bindings from skis in the sort of early 80s, brought it into the Look pedals on road bikes in the 80s, and then they paired up with Shimano in the late 80s to start working on the sort of mountain bike side
Did not
of things.
know that.
So yeah, little history lesson for you there.
Nice.
But yeah, well, thanks for stopping by, guys, and watching the show. And if you want to join the debate down in the comments below, let us know what's the most iconic bike or pro bike that you think from the history of mountain biking. Have we missed any?
Yeah, and keep your eyes peeled for some World Champs tech.
Thanks, bye.